speaker series. And so, this is, as and Lillian laid it out really well. I think a lot of us have, we've all been very engaged in the Jaycees, and we then looked for something to do after we aged out. So tonight we have three speakers who are really going to talk about how to stay engaged in the community. They've all been involved in a lot of different kinds of organizations. So I'm anxious to hear, from them tonight about some of the work that they have been doing in the community, the organizations that they've been involved with, why they chose those organizations, sharing some ideas about, how they, maybe some of those skills translate from the Jaycees to these organizations that they're involved with now, but then also just sharing some ideas, maybe some projects they're engaged with. The one great thing about the Jaycees was always, it's okay to steal some ideas, why reinvent the wheel? So, I'm hoping that, I think all of us are engaged in a lot of different things in our community. So maybe we can take some of these ideas and be able to bring them to our own local town or, organization that we're involved with. So again, I want this to be definitely, I have some questions prepared for our panel, but definitely want this to be just a way that we can all engage and share ideas tonight. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. I'll briefly just introduce our speakers, but really want them to be able to share a little bit more about themselves. So first of all, please welcome, we have Senator, one of our newest senators, I believe, 79589, Christine Flinton from the Alexandria chapter. We have Hello. Senator 72271, Cathy Sharp from Arlington, and Senator 60340, Beth Stevens from Virginia Beach. So thank you to all three of you for being on tonight and being agreeing to be a part of this panel. So with that, if I could, I think maybe I'll start with Christine, but the three of you, if you could introduce yourselves a little bit more, tell us a little bit more about your Jaycee careers. I know that you could probably talk for an hour, each one of you, about all the things that you've been involved with during your time at the Jaycees, but would really like to hear kind of, some of the highlights of your time with the Jaycees. So with that, we'll go to Christine, then Cathy, and then Beth.
Thanks, Amy. And I just want to say again, it's really good to be here. I'm glad I could join you all for the speaker series. I'm looking forward to kind of introducing you to me and introducing you to what I've been doing since my post-Jaycee career. Again, I'm Christine Flinton. I was a member of the Alexandria chapter. I joined in 1998, and I held various positions on the board throughout the years, took a break due to a change in jobs. And then I came back to the chapter in full force in 2014 when we were going through sort of a rough patch. And in 2015, I was elected president, sort of at the tail end of my Jaycee career. And since I wrapped that up, I have been involved with our foundation, which we'll talk about a little bit later, but that has been sort of my Jaycee career, and it's still going strong with the foundation. So,
thanks, Cathy.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Cathy Sharp, and I joined the Arlington chapter in September 1993. And I chaired and participated in many projects, including the Arlington Food Assistance Center, Children's Shopping Tour, Haunted House, and Photos with Santa. I served on the board for many years, and in 2006, I was our chapter president. So for the past 20 years or so, I've enjoyed volunteering at the Arlington Food Assistance Center, or AFAC, and I've coordinated the sorting events there for the Arlington Jaycees for the past few years. Our chapter has sorted produce or bagged oatmeal and beans at these events on the third Saturday of each month. And many years ago, our chapter also helped with food distribution at AFAC. And these events have been very popular chapter events for many years. So AFAC currently serves about 2,400 families each week, and they provide all types of food to each family. And there's many volunteer opportunities at AFAC, including food distribution, sorting donations, and bagging fresh produce and other items. So if anyone is interested in volunteering at AFAC, please go to their website, which is www.afac.org, or email me at cathysharp1@aol.com. Another organization that I've been involved in for many years is the Arlington Civitan Club. I joined the club in 2012 to stay involved in the Arlington community and to continue to support the Arlington Jaycees and Camp Virginia Jaycee. The Arlington Civitan Club is part of Civitan International, and Civitan clubs around the world have a variety of community service projects with focus on supporting individuals with disabilities. And the Arlington Club has given many grants to 501c3 organizations to provide support or services to individuals with developmental disabilities, including community residences, the Northern Virginia Special Olympics, and the Alzheimer's Association, and the Civitan International Research Center, which focuses on research for various disabilities such as autism and Alzheimer's. And for the past 30 years, the Arlington Civitan Club has run a large community garage sale at the parking deck next to Washington Liberty High School on the first Saturday of each month between April and November. There are about 150 to 200 vendors at the garage sales who sell all types of used items, including antiques, books, paintings, clothes, toys, and other items. And our club collects payments for each parking space from all of the vendors, and then the proceeds are donated to our grantees. And the Civitan garage sale has also been a successful fundraiser for the Arlington Jaycees. And thanks to Sharon and Paul Showalter's leadership in coordinating the Jaycee volunteers and working many hours at the garage sales. The Arlington Civitan Club pays the Arlington Jaycees for their volunteer hours at the garage sales. And the next Civitan garage sale will be held on Saturday, November 6th, and we'll need some volunteers to help with setup on Friday evening and for cleanup on Saturday afternoon. If anyone's interested in volunteering at the Civitan garage sale, please email me at cathysharp1@aol.com as soon as possible. And so both AFAC and the Arlington Civitan Club are good organizations to stay involved in the Arlington community and stay connected with the Arlington Jaycees and other volunteers in the community.
Great. Thanks, Cathy.
Oh, okay.
Appreciate it. Very good. All right, Beth, let me turn it over to you, please.
Sure. Just a brief introduction. First, I'd like to thank Lillian and Amy for the opportunity to speak and inviting me. Great way to get engaged with the Senate. Haven't had the opportunity in the past to do something like this, and so really appreciate the opportunity. I'm Beth Stevens, and I joined the Virginia Beach Jaycees in 1991. My first project actually was a blood drive. The chapter president sent me out, and Lion Mac was volunteering and chairing the project. And I jokingly say it was love at first drip because we started dating and got married, and we've been volunteering together for the past 30 years. We've been active in the Jaycees, served on the board of directors for several years, both as directors and vice presidents. I was chapter president in 1995-96, and the club had many celebrations that year and achievements. Went to international convention actually in Scotland that year. Went on to serve on the state board as a program director and a marketing director when Mary Lou Stavini was president that year, and went to international convention in Hawaii. Also served on the ECSE Foundation for our local Jaycees, and very involved with Camp Virginia Jaycee Advisory Board and part of their speaker bureau as well.
That's awesome. Thank you, Beth. And so I know that you've been very engaged with the Lions. And so I think that's an organization a lot of us have heard of, and I remember that from growing up with my parents being involved, but would love to hear a little bit more about that organization, what exactly it is, why you decided to get involved.
Sure. Well, it's very funny how I ended up involved with the Lions, because after I aged out with the Jaycees, many of you remember I used to have eyesight and, eventually lost my vision. So at first I joined the American Council of the Blind and, needed to move forward with my life in that way. But it just didn't feel right because I was so used to serving other people in need and people in the community. So looking for an opportunity, and I went to a movie with my mom for descriptive movies. And if you don't know what that is, it's when they add an additional audio track to a movie so a vision impaired person can hear what's going on during the movie. And we go on a regular basis, and the movie theater wouldn't have the movie playing. And this would happen over and over and over. And finally, I went after the movie and went to the manager, and he again offered me free tickets and said, "I'm sorry, we'll get this right at some point." And, I started talking to him about how this was a really important service for people in the low vision community. And if they're offering the service, they should do it. And he should have an awareness event, and we should do this and we should do that. And he finally agreed to have this project. And at the end, he said, "Oh, well, great. What organization do you belong to?" And it clicked that I didn't belong to anyone at that point. And I said, "Well, you know what? I'll find somebody and make it happen." And I came home and called a friend who was a Lion and talked to that club president and went out to that meeting and immediately felt at home because, first, they're serving people in need in the community, people of action. Many people believe that Lions only do vision and broom sales, which is not true. They have 5 global causes. They do hunger relief, protect the environment, serve people with diabetes, vision screenings, and pediatric cancer. So there's really a broad base of service project opportunities. It's an international organization, just like Jaycees. We've actually been to some international conventions with the Lions, had the opportunity to go to Germany and meet other people from around the world, in the interest of service. But it's very familiar: leadership, service, and membership. That sound familiar, right? But the leadership opportunities, I think, really are exceptional. There are advanced leadership opportunities. I've been to several leadership institutes. And that Jaycee experience really came into play, not only running those service projects, but the leadership development opportunities allowed me to grow even further as a leader. They have a faculty development institute, and was able to present at the USA Canada Lions Leadership Forum in Canada this past September, and also served as a district governor for the Lions. And I actually served on the council with a couple of our JCI senators. So it's not uncommon to run across former Jaycees in the Lions organization. So that's why I'm involved. It's actually very similar to the Jaycee model.
That's great. Thank you. And I love that Jaycee can-do spirit when you suggest a project and then suddenly you are running the project.
I was in charge. I talk too much.
No, I love it. That's great. Christine, can you talk a little bit more about the foundation? I know this is something that's been around now for a few years, and I know Lillian can probably speak to, she helped to really get it up and going as well, but would love to hear a little bit more about kind of the focus area that the Alexandria Jaycee Foundation has.
I always forget to unmute. So yeah, no, the foundation, the Alexandria Jaycees Foundation was something that had been always discussed throughout the years during the chapter's time. A lot of past presidents had voiced setting one up sort of in a sort of looking towards the future, kind of similar to what this the topic of tonight is, you know, what are we going to do post our chapter lives, and kind of modeling it, I think, on the Virginia Jaycees Foundation. That sort of put the bug in a lot of ears, and it had been talked about a lot, but nothing had really been done. It is kind of a challenge to set that up. It is a legal entity, and so I was not involved in the process of getting the foundation off the ground, getting it set up. That was actually done, I believe, if I remember correctly, during Lillian's time. And so the foundation was established in 2012, and it kind of just modeled the Jaycee creed of service to humanity, service to the community. And it just was kind of an extension of the chapter of the Alexandria Jaycees. And they sort of, you know, the Alexandria Jaycees chapter had been around since 1940, and we kind of saw a need, people wanting to give and do more, but the chapter was sort of limited in what they could do. And so by setting up the foundation, it kind of expanded the role of what we could do and what people could donate and could give, you know, their time and their effort. And so the chapter, the Alexandria Jaycees, unfortunately folded in 2018. But by that point, we had the foundation established. We had, we were doing a lot in the community, sort of in a less visible role, but our name was still out there in the community. And so as the president in 2015, I was on the board of directors for the foundation, and it was just a natural progression for me when my time in the chapter sort of came to a close. I kind of just continued working in the foundation, and then when the chapter folded, I sort of went all in with the foundation and just continued doing the work that the chapter had been doing in the city. And mainly the foundation, it supports a lot of the projects and organizations of this city, but we're not limited to the city of Alexandria. We do expand out to where needs, you know, where the need is. We've gone, you know, to other parts of Virginia. We've donated to hurricane relief in the Gulf and, you know, in other areas that have needed it. We still are heavily involved in the local community, especially during the pandemic. One of the things we saw was a lot of in-kind donations and tangible donations. They weren't being collected because of what was going on. And so, but every organization they were taking, you know, monetary donations. And so we kind of used our platform to sort of spread the word of like organizations or, you know, groups needing assistance, especially during the pandemic, and allowing people to sort of use us as a vehicle to get their donations or their resources to where they needed to go. And so, and we continue that today. And, you know, it was kind of a challenge during the pandemic because we do rely a lot on in-person events to kind of just be a presence in the community and kind of get our name out there. And obviously we couldn't do that. But now that we are sort of coming out of of what's going on, we're able to kind of get back out there in the community. And one of the big things we've got coming up is we are going to be participating in the Alexandria Scottish Walk the first weekend of December. And so if you ever wanted to march in a parade, we welcome you with open arms to come join our group to kind of just help us, you know, spread the word and be out there in the community with everybody. So, but yeah, but it's been great. It's again, it was just a natural extension to go from the chapter to the foundation. A lot of the same people. We are a small foundation, and it's primarily run by past presidents and former members of the chapter. And so, but we're small, but we're mighty, and we continue to grow. And it will be, as Amy said, we've been around for a couple of years. It'll be 10 years next year, which seems kind of weird, but it's been that long since we were established. So, but it's been good.
Great. Thanks, Christine. What JC doesn't like a good parade? So thanks for putting in that plug. Certainly appreciate it. And I appreciate all the comments. I know I'm seeing a few folks posting in the chat about John Seaborn from Bristol has been really involved in the Lions. And then Beth had mentioned that the Jaycees had an agreement with the Lions before to allow you to add the years of JC service to your new Lion tenure. So I don't know if that's still the case, Beth, if you're aware of that, if that is something that you know of, if that exists today.
It is not in effect today, to my knowledge.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Very good. But no, this is really very, very helpful. I appreciate all the comments. And so, I know one of the things we talked a little bit, and Beth touched upon too, is just a lot of these skills that I think we learn as the Jaycees. Everything I'm involved with, my first thought is, oh, I should put together a CPG or a PMG now. So, it just always is like second nature, I think, whenever any new projects come up. But would love to hear from the three of you if there's any special, things that you learned within the Jaycees that you think have really kind of helped you in what you're doing now, and maybe project planning or just leadership or anything like that. And perhaps, if there's any favorite projects that you've been working on as well, if those skills and kind of talents have translated into working on some of those. So Beth, I'll start with you.
Oh, sure. I actually have a good CPG story before I talk about service projects. When I was actually working, with the Red Cross, and we were a small chapter, and had the opportunity to apply for an award for a $10,000 grant from State Farm. And we're small, but we'll give it a try. And I used the CPG format, and we won a $10,000 grant. And I fully credit that CPG format because it had everything in it that they needed, details and the timelines and pictures and everything. So, even just a couple of weeks ago, I wrote a service project planner for our Lions to use on a project that we have coming up. And it's very similar to a CPG format. Lions call them service project planners, but all those skills that you learned as Jaycees absolutely translate. The leadership, the ability, public speaking, and the training to be able to present. But a couple of my favorite projects, of course, my favorite is service. I'm actually serving as our district service chair for 90 Lions clubs right now. We run from Virginia Beach over to the Lynchburg area. But in Virginia Beach, the Virginia Beach Public School Division has a project called Beach Bags, and that is to feed children suffering from food insecurity over the weekends and during the holidays. And our local charity foundation, Lions Charity Foundation of Southeastern Virginia, on behalf of the Virginia Beach Lions Clubs, just gave a $7,000 grant to provide 3,000 bags of food. And on October 7th, 50 Lions went over to the middle school, and we put together those 3,000 bags of food to be delivered over the weekend to the kids. So that makes a big difference. And we've been doing that beach bag project for several years now. Another one is the children's eye screening. Lions across the state actually do this project. There's a piece of equipment called a spot. It actually looks like a radar gun, that takes a picture of a child's eye, and we can screen children as young as 6 months old. And we're screening for a condition commonly called lazy eye, because if you detect that early enough and surgically correct that, it will prevent blindness in that eye. But it also can detect if the child just needs eyeglasses. So we screen children in the schools and help them if they need eyeglasses. And it sounds funny coming out of me, but even though I can't run the camera, I enjoy going on that project because we also will hand out books to the kids waiting in line and put a little sticker on them with a little line that says I've been screened. So, and under diabetes, we're just starting a program to give away a bear, a stuffed bear, to children in Children's Hospital of the King's Daughters and Children's Hospital of Richmond. He's called Jerry the Bear. He actually has artificial intelligent patches on him. And for children 4 to 7 just diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, with a companion app, it teaches them diabetes management skills, how to operate their pump, how many units of insulin that they need. You know, it's important to exercise and to stay hydrated. And not only are we sponsoring the bears, but our lions are being trained in that app to take it out to the families and teach the families how to run the app and talk to them about the diabetes management part of that. Because, you know, diabetes, I don't know if you're familiar, but I have 2 family members that are insulin dependent, and that's a terrible disease that can do terrible things to your body. But the funnest time I had was when I was district governor. Recreated our murder mystery fundraiser. Well, it wasn't a fundraiser. We just did it for fun at our fall conference and reunited a lot of our old Jaycee friends from the Virginia Beach Jaycees. They were actors in our murder mystery, and we actually killed off our visiting international director, and the Lions had to solve it, and she was a really good sport about us killing her that night. So that was the funnest time we had. So those
That's
are just
great.
a few things that we had.
Thanks, Beth. I'm ready to run out and join the Lions. It sounds like a great organization. So thank you for that. Cathy, can you talk a little bit about, you know, some of the things? I know you're still very engaged with the Jaycees. You and I know Paul and Sharon, I think, are on as well. But you know, some of the skills and things that you learned and how that's translated, and you know, some of the, I know you talked a lot about the garage sales, the yard sales that you, or garage sale that you're doing. And as a former Alexandria Jaycee, I remember those yard sales that we did a lot, and it took a lot of time, but would love to hear a little bit more from you about maybe some of the other, you know, some of the big projects, some of the things maybe you guys have funded as well. I think Cathy, you may be on mute.
Sorry about that. Thanks, Amy. Yes, the leadership skills that I learned in the Arlington Jaycees and project planning skills were very helpful to me with coordinating the Civitan garage sale, which is a very big project, and it takes a lot of manpower and a lot of time to plan, and it's helped me stay organized. And I'm also treasurer for the Arlington Civitan Club, and being treasurer in the Jaycees helped translate into the Arlington Civitan Club as well. And I've been able to stay connected to AFAC, and it's been helpful to be involved in AFAC as a Jaycee. And overall, my Jaycee experience has been very valuable, both at AFAC and the Civitan garage sale.
Thanks. Great. Thanks, Cathy. But Christine, I'll turn it to you.
So in the foundation, we haven't really utilized our CPG crafting skills just because we're so small. But the one thing I have utilized that that is sort of carried over from the chapter days, or just the connections around the city and the organizations and the people that we've connected with over the years, and just our name, and how, mentioning that, oh, hey, I used to be, you may not have talked to this person in several years, but the minute you mention like, oh, well, the Jaycees did a project for you, and they're like, oh, and they remember, and it's like a walk down memory lane. And so that with the foundation, we've had to reach out kind of again to some of those same connections, especially with the Volunteer Bureau of Alexandria and Marion Bunkin. And, they remember, all the times that the chapter has volunteered at events or helped out at events. And it's been great to sort of have those connections sort of rekindled to help, just continue serving in the community. And so we haven't, and just in general, the being president, I was vice president of activation, and also very familiar with yard sales and, running those projects. And just overall, everything, that we learned in the Jaycees and throughout the chapter, and the various projects that we did have definitely transferred over to running similar projects in the foundation, and sort of reaching out to all those people. One thing that we sort of have continued from the chapter days is Alexandria has what's called the Holiday Sharing Program. And when we were chapter members, we actually volunteered our time, and we would take children from Carpenter Shelter we'd take them shopping, and we would have a specific amount of money, and we would take them out, and they could get gifts for their family. Through that program on the foundation side, we have been able to adopt families. So we are not taking them out, physically to get their gifts, but we're still able to donate to their families and give them what they need. And during the past year, that was sort of sidelined because they couldn't quite match up with specific items. And so this year they're bringing that back in full force. And we actually just got the email the other day. We've adopted 2 senior citizens. And so we're going to be doing some shopping for them and getting the gifts out. And, that's been a big part. And it was a great project we did when we were chapter members, and it continues to be that as, foundation members. So it's been, but the connections in the city and to the organizations has been really key, even in the foundation.
It's great. Thanks, Christine. I guess now you don't need to worry about potentially losing children. While taking them out. That was always like, I remember losing sleep,
that was, yes, you had to constantly be doing the head count to make sure you had all the kids. And then when they got on the bus, you were like, they're there, they're gone.
Oh yeah, a lot of stress.
Yes, we don't have that as much.
Very good. Well, I want to open it up to see if anyone here has, there went my strobe light. If you could see it. So if anyone had any questions or for the panelists, and then, also would love to hear, I know with this crew that's on, we've got a lot of really active, engaged folks throughout the community. So also really interested in some of the things that you guys are involved with or projects that you're working on. Because again, it's all about sharing information, stealing ideas, so we can be successful. But with that, I'll open it up to see if anyone has anything they'd like to ask or share this time.
This is Peggy. I just wanted to say how much fun it is, especially Beth and Mac, to see you guys again. And it's been way too long. And hint, hint, if we are meeting in Virginia Beach in January or February or whenever it is that we meet, I hope you all can at least come and put an appearance. It would be great to see you again. And it's been fun listening to your stories, because I was, very much a part of that era. So
thank you. Actually, a lot of the conventions coincide with our Lions conventions. That's why you haven't seen us on many of them. But we appreciate being part of the Google group because you keep us up to date on what's happening. So that's good.
Totally. That's great. Thanks. Well, I know I see we have Paul or Sharon or Ann Sharon. I know you guys do a lot of, I seem to remember there was an appearance by Santa Claus and riding through my neighborhood last year. So Paul or Sharon, if you guys want to talk about some of the cool things that you are doing as well. There they are.
Hi there. Sure. Actually, so last year was interesting because, COVID shut a lot of things down, and malls weren't having Santas and people weren't doing holiday parties and so on. So I actually borrowed a blue pickup truck and we constructed a Santa sleigh replica around the pickup truck. We had Rudolph on the hood of the truck, and we had 2 reindeer on the roof of the truck. We had Santa elevated in the back. We had music, and we drove around 3 different neighborhoods in Arlington. We were originally just going to do it here in Lyon Park, where we live, and that was incredibly successful. We got a request from a neighboring affordable housing apartment complex if we could drive through there. So we did it again and kind of did an extended route. And then someone reached out, heard about it on social media, and reached out and asked if we could visit Columbia Pike. And I ended up mapping out a 6.5-mile route, and had to get a different Santa for that one because my normal Santa is like 85. And the first day we did it, the temperature was about 65. He had a great time. The second time we did it, it was about 40, and he was frozen by the end of it and said, "I'm done. Find somebody else." So we got a gentleman who put him in a suit. He'd never done Santa before. He never stopped saying Merry Christmas and everything else from the time we started in our driveway to the time we got back. I mean, it was a couple of hours, and it was just a ton of fun. The kids thoroughly enjoyed it. The parents thoroughly enjoyed it. There were like little pods of people all along the route. The kids were just so excited. And we've actually decided we're going to do it again this year. And we're going to hopefully expand it to a couple of different neighborhoods as well. So it'll be a lot of fun. And, it's a lot of fun to give back to the community. It's something that we've done an awful lot over the years. So.
Yes.
Great. No, thank you. I know that I think I was on some lists and they would say, okay, Santa's at this corner, probably 20 more minutes. So, I was following along and making sure that I was getting my son to the right place so he could see it. So it was great. Thank you for sharing.
I will admit, when we did the Columbia Pike route, the number of people that were out was incredible. And the coordination from one spot to another. And I actually went out the day before and mapped out the route and drove the route. So I had an idea of what I was going to expect. And, it was just a lot of fun. And the kids were thrilled. The parents were thrilled. So, and the weather was good. So that's even better.
Yeah. Well, I know it was a nice treat, especially as so many of us have been stuck inside for so many months. So it was very nice. But I see Beth on. Hi, Beth. I know I'm always seeing Facebook posts about the Rotary and the different work you're doing. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about that from you.
Well, I continue to be involved in both the Jaycees and Rotary. Here out in the West Coast, Rotary has been just a extenuation because the Jaycees they're down to 7 chapters statewide, unfortunately. So I helped them the best I could. And you probably saw some of my posts from this past weekend, went to their state convention. It was the first state convention that they've had as a statewide organization. They've had little ones, but so they're trying to bring it back. And so a few of us senators went to support them, both financially and otherwise, to get enough kids to be there. And it was exciting. They were energized, they were committed, and it looks like they've convinced enough people to run for office that they'll have some a cabinet next year too. So that was a little bit of a concern early on. As for Rotary, I get to do all the things that I wasn't able to do as a JC because of finances. Now I'm able to travel, and just like JCs where we had international conventions, I'm now able to do that with Rotary. And just to let you know about one of the trips that I was able to take was to India to see a project that you've helped fund and the power of many. You know, it's that $25, $100 couple with everyone else's $100 or $200 contributions. And you can do things like cochlear ear implants, heart transplants in other countries. So it's kind of.
Oops, Beth, you just went on mute.
I got excited. I guess my hands would hit the thing. But just to do so many things, and just like my time with JC's, meeting people from all over the world, that was the exciting part. And you know, serving, that's always been part of who my background is to serve others. And so it continues on. And they think I'm a genius because I do things and, you know, plan things out. And it's all my JC training, all the CPGs. They go, how did you plan all that? And I said, oh, you know, I learned it through the JCs. So, you know, that stuff. And, you know, for a few years, I had a coffee house and I used the CPG format when I started the business and stuff like that. It wasn't a great success. So that's why I'm out of that business. But at the same time, I use that skill to at least start it and all that. So learned a lot through the JCs and continue to be active in the Senate. So I'm glad to see all of you on this conference call or Zoom meeting. So we just need to get more people to be engaged. And so I think that's the challenge with any service organization right now, is how do we engage people? How do we get that servant mindset and translate it to many more people? Because I think people have a desire to serve. They're just looking for ways to do it. And we just need to make it more convenient for them to do so. So that's one of my missions with Rotary, and, you know, also with the Senate and with the JCs, is to, you know, find ways to get younger folks more engaged, because they want to be engaged. They just want a different way of us communicating with them how to do it.
Thanks, Beth. Appreciate that.
I think I have a question, Amy, and
Please.
maybe start with the panelists, but really to anybody who's participating, because we have a lot of folks who are doing other things after the JCs. Is do you see challenges in your current volunteer endeavors that the JCs have faced, and do you have a perspective on how to encourage more volunteering or encourage more people to get involved? Sort of like what Beth was saying, you know, how do we get people involved in the way that we were involved as JCs?
Well, if I could jump in on that, because people have asked me that about my Rotary Club. I jumped Rotary Clubs just recently in the last 2 years, from a traditional club to a newer, younger club. And the key was bringing people that I already knew together. I mean, I belong to a Disney fan group. I belong to, you know, several other organizations. And what the hallmark of JCs is people becoming friends in an organization and wanting to do good with their friends, right? I mean, we've built lifelong friendships with the people that we met through the JCs. Well, all service organizations, if they go with that, rather than trying to surmount a mountain of how can we recruit members, if we just bring our friends into it, or people that we like to associate with, and maybe in our business lives, then that's how you build chapters, because people want to be around the friends or people that they like. And so my Rotary Club, about probably 30% of them or 40% of them are the people that I recruited. And it's because I just recruited them, made it easy. The low hanging fruit, it's people that are already your friends. And so I think if we can make that translation to all of our service organizations, bring your friends. Then you already have a network of, people are willing to come out and help their friend. People are willing to come out because they're having fun with their friends. And so I think if we don't make it such a chore of recruiting members, but just a thing of getting our friends to join us in some positive work, volunteerism, I think that's the key to breaking down those, what we perceive as a challenge of membership. The challenges is us becoming our inhibitions. Because basically, if you saw my post this past weekend, I went to the California Jaycees convention. There was exactly one person in the room that wasn't a JC. And within a 10-minute conversation with her, was able to recruit her because she had already been to 2 other JC events, but no one had bothered to ask her. And I said, terrific. And I just asked her and she joined on the spot. So it's, the low hanging fruit is right there in front of us. So we just have to ask.
Good points.
Yeah, thanks, Beth. I think that's very interesting. Does anybody else have other insights or comments from their own experiences from the Lions, or Paul, Sharon, from your perspectives, or from the Civitans, AFAC?
From the Lions perspective, actually what she just said about nobody asking, it was funny because people would come to the Lions meeting and nobody would say, would you join? You have to be sponsored into the Lions Club, be invited to join. And they weren't in the habit of doing that. Mac and I, the great thing about that is we went from being the oldest being kicked out of the Jaycees because we were too old to join in the Lions. And they're like, you're all so young. That was a good thing. Just asking people to be involved and absolutely engaging through service and inviting them to participate alongside you, I think makes it very, very easy for people to see the mission for like-minded people. Service, servant heart is, the common term that people have been saying, which I think is very true. And just let people know through informational sessions, and if people have a common interest, bring them together. I think that's very true. I don't know, Mac might have a comment. He's actually in charge of membership for our area. So,
well, I think you're right. Involving people is the main part of it. Offering them an opportunity and showing them the value of what they get out of it. I teach school, and so I'm always very aware of what I can provide for young people, and being part of any organization at a young age and growing into serving from the heart is just something that our young people really need in this country right now. So give them opportunity, give them the way to do it, hand them the keys and tell them to drive. We're all insured. Let's go for it.
Love that. That's great.
Bless us, O Lord, and these thy gifts, which we receive from thy bounty through Christ our Lord.
Why is everything so dark over there?
Oops. I think
Sure.
Paul and Sharon, I think you guys aren't on mute right now.
Yes, we are.
Oops. Are there any other, I want to be cognizant of people's time, but I want to make sure that if others have questions or anything else that they'd like to share, that they have the opportunity to do so.
Well, I think those old-fashioned road trips are the key too. We had so much fun traveling the state. I mean, I know every Walmart just about in the state of Virginia. But I mean, just, gathering our friends in the same car, going down somewhere, I remember the old days when we couldn't afford hotel rooms and we crammed a bunch of people into one hotel room. We used the mats and we used the bed cushions or whatever, made 2 beds out of it, things like that. We didn't think enough to bring sleeping bags. I don't know why, but we would, take all the different things. But I mean, we had fun. And I think, the memories that we have are, ones that we carry with us. And if we can continue that, that would be awesome. And so, all the adventures that, as Lillian has stated for our year, the journey. So I hope everyone is going to be signed up to go to National Bridge. I signed up and I'm flying in. So looking forward to seeing as many of you as I can.
Hi all, this is Sabitha. I came late to the party, sorry. So I think I'm kind of following the conversation, but I just wanted to share something about my experience as a JC that I've actually taken to the workplace. So the last 5 years I've worked for the Navy Region Mid-Atlantic. And what I do is I'm the sponsorship director for the region. So our taxpayer dollars don't pay for everything. What we do is, so I raise money so we can, provide services and fun stuff for the military and their families. Well, I joined a leadership group last year, and somehow the questionnaire after the experience, they said, what committee would you like to be a part of? I just put diversity. I didn't have really any, agenda. So the next week I get an email from the deputy EEO director saying, hey, we have this diversity, equity, and inclusion committee. Would you like to be a part of it? So I've been a part of it for a year now, but it's not exactly, my whole point was about inclusion, not so much about everything else. One of the things was jobs, right? So one group not being, like NAF employees not being able to get GS. Long story short, the admiral of the region and Mr. Walker, the deputy EEO director, decided that they wanted to introduce voluntary moments. So these volunteer projects, so the region is made up of civilians and military. And through these volunteer projects that we will get to meet people that we work with outside of work, sometimes people we would never even cross paths with. And so I was in the committee and in the meeting and nobody volunteered. So, me. So I said, okay, I will do it. So we did 3 projects. One was with 4 kids. It's a organization here, which it's near and dear to my heart. They serve families that are close to being homeless or already homeless. And then the other one, the Admiral wanted us to do something for the Boys and Girls Club. So we did one in June. And then the second one with the Boys and Girls Club was on September 11th. I kind of said we have to do something on National Day of Service. So we continued. Our project was to paint the parking lot. Let me tell you what, that's a lot of work to paint those lines. So 10 people went the first group, the second group, there were 6 of us. So I was talking to this one lady and Mr. Walker was there and we're chatting. And she's like, oh, I really love this. I'm new to the area. She's a former Marine. I said, hey, would you like to be a part of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee? And she said, oh, I would love to. I said, well, let me send you our bylaws and charter. And today she sends us this email about how she's told her son and daughter who serve with the military that they too want to volunteer. And, she's read up on the bylaws and, she's excited to be part of the committee. So I owe it all. And, I did this after action report, kind of like a CPG. And I know they probably think I'm crazy because, when I gave them CPG before, like for my boss's boss a few years ago, I said, hey, this is what my volunteer organization does. He's like, oh, that's too much of a science project for our programmers. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, this is what we do. So anyway, my whole point is that the Jaycees, and I hope I'm not out of topic here. I was just listening to what Beth was saying. It's and Lillian's theme of join the journey. We start as Jaycees, and then sometimes you kind of fall off and then you have to come back in and you have to be re-recruited. Lillian, correct me if I'm going off topic here. You kind of have to re-recruit them, whether it's senators or whatever, but whatever I learned in the Jaycees, I've definitely taken it to my workplace and then some outside in the community. And I talk about the Jaycees in the Senate, pretty much everybody at work knows. And as Sharon and I were kind of joking at convention, they're like, you're taking a week off for a convention you're going to work at? I'm like, yep, that's what I'm going to do. So, but anyway, I apologize coming late, and I hope I wasn't off topic. Yeah, and it's not just with the Jaycees, but it's what I learned from each and every one of you. You know, we learn so much from each other. We continue learning every single day. So, you know, continue to inspire others because you inspire me. So thank you.
That's awesome. Thanks, Sabitha. That's a great way, I think, to end the session tonight. You know, once a Jaycee, always a Jaycee, certainly is the case. But I really appreciate all of you for being on tonight, but especially to Beth, Christine, and Cathy for agreeing to be a part of our panel tonight. So thank you so much for taking some time to be on and just talking a little bit about some of the work that you all have been doing. So again, super excited to have you all join our virtual speaker series. We are still looking for new topics. So if any of you have any that you would like to see you know, brought up in the future, please let me know. Just send me a note or Lillian and just let us know. We are certainly looking for things that others would be interested in. So I think with that, we'll call it a night. And thank you all again for being on. Really appreciate it. And thanks again, Chris, for the use of Zoom. So have a good night, everybody. Have a good
Good
one.
night.
Thank you, Amy.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you,
It was a great
Amy.
program.
Bye, everyone.
Thank
Great
you,
to see
everybody.
everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.